I've been saving my best friend's life every day for the past week, killing his family members in the process. Submitted by Purple Unicorn Sheep. Well, I don't really know where to start with this. I guess I should start with the story of when I died about a decade ago. I was 12. Honestly, I don't remember all the details. I don't know where we were going. I don't know the time of day. I don't even know where it happened. All I remember is my father driving while I sat in the passenger seat. It was a complete chance, a total split-second stroke of bad luck. 1 second I was looking at the trees outside the car, the next I was looking at the truck that had driven through the driver's side of the car, the impact instantly killing my father and probably me as well. The rest of my memory is of me in the hospital, surrounded by doctors. At the time, I didn't realize it, but I was later told that I was, in all ways, supposed to be dead. In fact, when the ambulance got to me, my pulse and breath rate was the same as my dead father. Somehow, between then and when I arrived at the hospital, I had come back to life. I'm putting that in quotations because I don't know if I actually died and somehow came back to life or if I was only very close to being dead the whole time. Most people would assume the latter, but with what happened after, I don't think it would be a stretch to assume I actually did die. Because ever since that day, my life has been different. The first time it happened was when I was in the hospital. I didn't really leave my hospital room, seeing as I was either in the process of getting an organ transplant or having my left leg amputated and replaced with a prosthetic. But when the doctors were leaving and entering, I was able to see a man in the room across from me getting some sort of operation on his chest. The second I saw him, I felt it. I knew that at 7 seconds before 10:32, in less than 3 hours, he would die during his operation. I couldn't explain why I knew it, but I did. I just felt it. I knew it would happen. Of course, I tried to convince myself I was just making it up, but the next day when I looked across into his room, the bed was empty. I hadn't fully realized what had happened, however, until a few months after I was released from the hospital. I was on a walk around my neighborhood, and saw an elderly woman. I felt the same thing with that woman that I felt with the man in the hospital. It was 4:19 in the morning, and she died in her bedroom after having fallen off the bed with nobody in her house to call for help. Again, I tried to convince myself that I was just making something up. I almost succeeded, until I saw her obituary in the newspaper. She had died the exact way I had predicted. To sum it up, if I looked at a person who was going to die within the next 24 hours, I know exactly when and why. I've never been wrong. I don't know why I can do this. I don't even really know how I do it. But what I did know was that at that moment, my 12-year-old self made 2 rules regarding this power that I would follow for almost the rest of my life. The first rule is that I would never tell anyone about this. I wanted a normal life, and there was absolutely no way I could have that if I told anyone. The second rule was that I wouldn't try to stop any of the deaths. I made this rule out of fear. I didn't know what would happen if I tried to do so. For all I knew, it could cause some sort of paradox. It was safer for me to just pretend I saw nothing. So that's what I did. Although, it wasn't easy. The mental strain of knowing that someone you can see is going to die within the next day and not being able to do anything about it, coupled with the trauma I had sustained from the car crash, made my school days incredibly hard. At least, until I met Chris. He was a kid in my high school who I instantly hit it off with. The two of us quickly became close friends. I didn't even have any other friends, so I honestly don't know how I would have survived high school without him. He probably saved my life. We graduated and moved into an apartment together a couple years ago. The two of us have no romantic relationship with each other, but he and I are thick as thieves. I've had the best time of my life living with him, and I couldn't be more grateful to him. It was perfect. Of course, if it stayed perfect I wouldn't be writing this, would I? It was last week when my life was completely turned on its head. It was 16 seconds after 7:53 p.m. I was washing the dinner dishes, since it was my turn to do so, and Chris was across the room, flipping through channels on the TV. Nothing strange happened, and everything was fine. Until I felt it. The death of Chris. It's almost laughable. He died by getting hit by a drunk truck driver exactly 24 hours later. I dropped the plates I was holding, and instantly started silently crying. I think Chris came over to clean up the plate shards and asked me what was wrong, but honestly, I don't really remember. It was too fuzzy. All I remember was walking to my bedroom on shaky legs, with him looking over at me, a concerned expression on his face. I don't know how to describe what that night felt like. Chris was my entire life. Without him, I had nobody. His laugh, his smile, his kind words. I had only a day left to see it. Without him, my life would be just a blur of working, sleeping, and eating with no joy at all. He doesn't deserve to die. He doesn't deserve to just be gone forever. That was all I could think about that day. Around 6:30 the next night, Chris's cell phone rang. He told me one of his friends needed a ride from a bar he was at. As he stood up, getting ready to grab his jacket and leave the apartment for the last time, I just fucking lost it. I was ugly crying, my sobs filling the room. Begging Chris not to leave, I wailed some incoherent nonsense, and luckily, Chris seemed to be shocked enough to stay home for that night. He suggested watching my favorite movie to cheer me up, and I was just too shaken to disagree. After what felt like days, an hour passed. I looked at the clock, and it was 7:44. Less than 10 minutes. 7:48. 7:50. 7:52. 7:53. 7:54. I looked at Chris. He looked back at me. What? And then I felt it again. Tomorrow. The same time at night. The two of us were in a city, and there was a shooting. I saw Chris get shot and die in my arms. At that point, I realized three things. I had broken a rule for the first time in my life. If I didn't want him to die tomorrow, I would have to break it again. I would save him every day of every month of every year if it means Chris doesn't die. The next morning, Chris got a message. His cousin died last night at 7:53, after getting hit by a drunk driver in a truck. I continued this for a week. I've stopped him from eating a bread roll he would choke on, driving through a tunnel where a piece of metal would fall and crush his car, going out when he was going to fall and split his head open on the concrete, and even more. I've seen him die every day, but I've made sure that it never happened. Each time, one of his relatives has suffered the death meant for him. I can tell he's suspicious of me, since I started acting weirdly the night his family's deaths began. We just learned his mother died, and he left the apartment saying he had to go see his family. I know I'm killing them by letting Chris live, and if he knew what I was doing, he'd force me to stop saving him, but I don't care. I've seen him die time and time again, and I won't let anything I saw happen. Maybe I've gone crazy after going through all of this. Maybe I'm just supposed to let him die. But I'd kill every last blood relative he is before I'd let him die. It's possible that you, reading this, you are an extremely distant relative of his. If so, I'm sorry, but I'll sacrifice you if it means he can live a day longer.